A teacher in Ohio just got a repair bill for $3,800. Her Honda CR-V, 94,000 miles. She bought it because every list called it reliable. She doesn't have $3,800. She has a payment plan and a loaner car, and a coworker who keeps saying she should have bought a Toyota instead. The Toyota would have cost her $6,000 more. Meanwhile, there are 5 Chinese SUVs that owners call unkillable. Today, I'm counting down all 5. Stick around because number 1 completed a 60,000-kilometer endurance drive across some of the most punishing terrain on Earth. No mechanical failures. Original drivetrain. Journalists watching the whole time. Let's go. Number 5. Haval H6, the invisible workhorse. Nobody puts a Haval H6 poster on their bedroom wall. But it looks like every other compact SUV in the parking lot. Inoffensive shape, forgettable face. The visual equivalent of a tax document. People under 40 walk straight past it because it triggers nothing in their brain except that exists. This is the car nobody brags about, and that's exactly why it survives. Great Wall Motors has been building vehicles since 1984. Nobody cared until 2011 when they made one decision that changed everything. They engineered the H6 to European safety and emission standards. Not to sell cars in Europe, to prove internally that they could. That decision shows up in the engine at 150,000 kilometers. Most buyers never see it, they only see the badge. That's the mistake. The engine is a 2.0-liter turbo. Horsepower is easy to advertise. Longevity is harder. The combustion chamber was developed with Ricardo Engineering. You may not know that name. Rolls-Royce does. So does every Formula One team on the grid. Ricardo doesn't give discounts for being Chinese. They charge the same and demand the same from everyone. The 7-speed dual clutch had a rough start. Early units were jerky at low speed. Great Wall fixed the software and then fixed the actual problem. Later production switched to a wet clutch running in an oil bath. Long-term owners call it solid. A fleet manager in Phoenix named Marcus runs 14 H6 for airport shuttle routes, 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. He expected to be replacing transmissions within 2 years. That was 3 years ago. Average mileage per vehicle, 90,000 miles. Total unplanned repairs across the fleet, brake pads on 4 units. That's it. He told me the most surprising thing about running a fleet of H6 is that he stopped thinking about them. They go out in the morning and come back in the evening. He's been chasing that with other brands his entire career. Have you ever dismissed a Chinese car without driving one? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. The H6 is not exciting. It's not trying to be. It's permanent. The suspension absorbs rough roads without crashing through them. The cabin is quiet at highway speed. It does everything its segment asks without drama. For a vehicle you're planning to drive for a decade, the absence of drama is the feature. What to check before buying. On pre-2022 models, the dual clutch calibration was never updated at many dealers. Spend 20 minutes in a parking lot at low speed. If it jerks and hunts, walk away. A $0 software fix becomes a $3,000 transmission if it's been ignored long enough. On higher mileage examples, grab the rear suspension bushings by hand. If they flex or clunk, budget $400 to $600. It will get worse. Expect to pay $24,000 to $31,000 depending on trim and market. Quick maintenance tip, change the transmission fluid every 40,000 miles, regardless of what the manual says. Dual clutch transmissions run hot and stop and go. Fresh fluid is the difference between a transmission that lasts 150,000 miles and one that doesn't. The H6 proves Chinese engineering is real, but the next one didn't just use good engineering. It bought the company that invented it. In 2010, a Chinese brand spent $1.8 billion on Volvo. Most people shrugged. That was a mistake. Number 4. Geely Monjaro, the wolf in sheep's clothing. In 2010, a Geely bought Volvo for $1.8 billion. People heard that and shrugged. Chinese brand buys struggling Swedish manufacturer. Interesting story. Moving on. That was a mistake. Geely now had direct access to Volvo's engineering team, their platform development, and their quality systems. Decades of knowledge about building cars that survive European winters and regulatory frameworks that don't accept excuses. You can't fake that. You either have it or you don't. The Monjaro is what happened while everyone else wasn't paying attention. It wears a Geely badge. It thinks like a Volvo. It sits on the CMA platform, developed jointly by Geely and Volvo engineers. The same platform that underpins the Volvo XC40. Not inspired by, not similar to. The same platform. The 2.0-liter turbo makes 218 horsepower. The numbers are fine. The durability is the point. Same combustion chamber design as Volvo's Drive E family. Same decisions about heat management that show up at 200,000 kilometers. Independent engineers tore down high-mileage Monjaro engines from Chinese market taxis. Over 200,000 kilometers. Piston rings within original tolerance. Camshaft lobes with no measurable wear. Crankshaft main bearings within 3 microns of original clearance. 3 microns is thinner than a human hair at 200,000 kilometers in a taxi. Those are numbers European manufacturers would be comfortable publishing. A project manager in Dallas named Kevin bought a Monjaro after his 3rd Volkswagen in a row spent more time at the dealer than in his driveway. He wasn't looking for a Chinese car. He was looking for something that would just work. His mechanic told him he was crazy. His father-in-law stopped speaking to him for a month. 14 months later, he's put 31,000 miles on it. 1 oil change. That's it. He told me the hardest part of owning it is that he has nothing to complain about. He said that like it was a problem. It isn't. Inside, it feels like money, not new car smell money that fades in 6 months. Actual money. The seats hold you past the 2-hour mark. The steering weights up as you go faster the way it should. At highway speed, you can have a normal conversation without raising your voice. That sounds like nothing until you've driven something where you can't. What to check before buying. The water-cooled turbo has one rule. After hard driving, let it idle 90 seconds before you shut it off. Skip this consistently and the bearings cook. A new turbo is $1,800 to $2,400. 90 seconds is free. On high mileage examples, check the coolant reservoir. Brown or rusty fluid means a neglected cooling system. Walk away. Expect to pay $28,000 to $38,000 depending on specification. The 2.0 liter is the ownership sweet spot. Quick maintenance tip. Meter, use full synthetic oil rated 0W20 and change it every 5,000 miles. The turbo runs on engine oil pressure in the first seconds after startup. Fresh oil means the turbo bearings are protected when they need it most. The Monjaro thinks like a Volvo. Number 3 was never a car company at all. It started as a battery laboratory. 17 years of chemistry research before a single vehicle left the factory. The result is a hybrid battery that will outlive the rest of the car. We need to talk about it. Number 3, BYD Tang, the battery. Scientists' SUVBYD stands for Build Your Dream. They started in 1995, not as a car company that added hybrid powertrains to keep up with regulations, as a battery company, founded by electrochemists, people who spent their careers thinking about chemistry, not powertrains. They didn't learn batteries to build cars. They built cars because they already understood batteries. This is not a car built by an automaker. This is a car built by chemists. The plug-in hybrid is the one worth your money. BYD's DMI system pairs an Atkinson cycle engine with blade battery technology that BYD spent 17 years developing before putting it in a consumer vehicle. 17 years. While other brands rushed products to market in 5, BYD waited because they weren't ready until they were ready. The blade battery uses lithium iron phosphate chemistry. This holds its capacity over time dramatically better than competing hybrids. Independent testing shows over 90% capacity retention after 2,000 full charge cycles. For a typical owner charging daily, that's roughly 500,000 miles before meaningful degradation. The battery will outlive the rest of the car. In a segment where competitor batteries begin serious degradation around 100,000 miles, that is not a small advantage. That is a completely different ownership calculation. A retired civil engineer from Ohio named Gary spent 2 months building a spreadsheet before buying his Tang. Not metaphorically, an actual spreadsheet, independent test results, inspection reports from mechanics who'd serviced high-mileage Tangs, owner forms from markets where the car had been running long enough to show its problems. He'd spent 30 years calculating load tolerances for highway bridges. He wasn't buying a car, he was solving a problem. After 40 years of Japanese and American vehicles, he bought a Tang. At 58,000 miles, he says it's the most boring car he's ever owned. His wife thinks he's finally lost it. He says she doesn't understand the compliment. Then you sit in it, and the rest of the case makes itself. Large, responsive screen, seats that don't flatten into a back problem on a long drive, third row that fits adults, which puts it ahead of most 7-seat SUVs where the third row exists to justify the brochure. What to check before buying? Plug-in hybrid brake rotors develop surface rust fast because regenerative braking does most of the work. The physical pads barely touch them. Take it to a highway on-ramp and brake hard from 60 miles per hour. If the wheel pulses, the rotors need replacing. Budget $600 to $900. Pull the oil fill cap. If it looks like chocolate milk underneath, coolant is mixing with the oil. Walk away immediately. Expect to pay $38,000 to $52,000 depending on powertrain and trim. The plug-in hybrid is worth the premium for any owner who can charge at home. Quick maintenance tip: flush the brake fluid every 2 years. Plug-in hybrid brakes last longer than conventional brakes, but that means the fluid sits longer and absorbs moisture. Old brake fluid boils under hard use. Fresh fluid costs $80 and takes an hour. The Tang was built by scientists. Number 2 was tested by reality. In 2022, someone drove 160,000 60,000 kilometers from China to Europe. No proving ground, no support vehicles. 9. Mountain passes at 4,000 meters where breaking down has no good solution in any direction. Journalists watch the whole time. Original engine, original transmission, no mechanical failures. You need to hear this story. Number 2. Chery Tiggo 8 Pro, the Silk Road survivor. In 2022, someone drove a Tiggo 8 Pro 60,000 kilometers from China to Europe. Not on a proving ground, not on closed roads with support vehicles every 100 kilometers. Along the actual Silk Road, the Pamir Highway in Tajikistan, mountain passes above 4,000 meters where altitude cuts engine output. Temperatures swing from freezing nights to scorching afternoons within hours, and the road alternates between rough asphalt and sections that stopped being asphalt years ago and nobody replaced. Desert roads in Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan, where the distances between anything resembling mechanical help are serious. Terrain where breaking down is not an inconvenience, it's a problem with no good solution in any direction. Independent journalists accompanied sections of the drive, verified the mechanical condition at multiple checkpoints. The Tiggo 8 Pro arrived in Europe under its own power. Original engine, original transmission, original drivetrain, no mechanical failures. Most SUVs are tested on roads. This one was tested where roads stop. That is not a laboratory result. That is reality. The 2.0-liter turbo was developed with AVL, the Austrian engineering consultancy that works with European, Japanese, and American manufacturers. They apply the same durability standards regardless of who is writing the check. Because their commercial value depends on being consistent, this engine was tested to the same standard AVL applies when the client is a German manufacturer with a century of reputation to protect. The suspension is calibrated for loaded conditions. Most SUVs are tuned for the unloaded test drive, smooth with 2 people on board, falling apart when loaded with 5 and luggage. The Tiggo 8 Pro was calibrated for real family loads. The ride with 2 people is approximately what you'll experience with a full load 2 years later. A construction company owner in Tennessee named Rick runs 12 Tiggo 8 Pros for crew transportation across job sites. Dirt roads, gravel, highway, loaded with tools and people every single day. 18 months in, averaging 48,000 miles per vehicle. Oil changes on schedule. 1 set of brake pads on the highest mileage unit. 1 tire from road debris. No transmission problems, no engine work, no electrical failures. He said switching to Chery was the best fleet decision he'd made in 10 years. His previous fleet needed twice the unplanned shop visits in the same period. He's specifying Chery for the next cycle. His previous fleet manager at a different company is still replacing CVTs. They don't discuss it. This is what reliability actually looks like. Not hype, not resale value charts. Just a machine that refuses to complain. 7 seats that actually fit people. 3rd row accessible without a flexibility demonstration. Cargo space that justifies the footprint. It drives like a vehicle engineered to move families reliably, which is the only thing that matters in this segment. So what to check before buying? Start the engine cold and listen for 30 seconds. A metallic rattle from the engine bay that disappears as it warms up is timing chain rattle. The tensioner is worn. Ignore it and you're looking at bent valves and a repair bill that exceeds the value of the car. A timing chain job runs $1,800 to $2,500. If you hear it, walk away. Check the frame rails for rust that goes through the metal. Surface rust is cosmetic. Rust you can poke through with a screwdriver is structural. Expect to pay $30,000 to $42,000 depending on specification. Quick maintenance tip, check the air filter every 15,000 miles and replace it every 30,000. These engines run a turbocharger. A clogged air filter forces the turbo to work harder. It costs $25 and takes 10 minutes. It is the cheapest turbo protection you can buy. The Tiggo survived the Silk Road. Number 1 never needed a road test. It has 14 years of production data, a German inspection report, and a guy in Austin who wanted a German SUV and couldn't justify it on a spreadsheet. This is the most complete ownership case any Chinese vehicle has ever made, and it's not close. If this is changing how you think about cars, subscribe now. This is exactly what this channel is for. Number 1. BYD Seal U, the data sheet on wheels. The BYD Seal U doesn't ask you to trust Chinese manufacturing. It asks you to read the numbers. Most people won't. That's why they keep overpaying. The Seal U uses BYD's 5th generation DMI plug-in hybrid system. 5th generation. BYD has been building plug-in hybrid powertrains since 2012. 14 years of production experience. 14 years of mistakes found and fixed. Most European manufacturers have been building plug-in hybrids for less time than BYD has been selling them. No other Chinese manufacturer is within a generation of this depth. The Atkinson cycle engine achieves 43.4% thermal efficiency, one of the highest figures for any production passenger car engine in the world. A more thermally efficient engine runs cooler, less thermal stress on every heat-sensitive component, longer component life as a direct mechanical consequence. Less heat, less stress, longer life. TÜV Rheinland tested the 5th-generation Blade battery. TÜV Rheinland is a German technical inspection organization founded in 1872. No commercial relationship with BYD, no reason to protect BYD's numbers. So result, 91% capacity retention after 2,000 full charge-discharge cycles. For an owner charging daily, that is a battery that outlasts the mechanical components of the vehicle it powers. Independent verification from an organization that has spent 150 years building a reputation by being accurate. This is not marketing. This is verification. A software architect in Austin named Derek bought his Seal U because the spreadsheet told him to. He'd wanted a German SUV. His wife had wanted a German SUV. The data kept pointing somewhere else. 19 months later, he's put 54,000 miles on it. Texas heat, long highway commutes, 2 road trips to Colorado. Total unplanned repairs, 0. The car updated itself twice while he slept, pushed overnight software improvements he noticed the next morning without knowing what changed. He described it to me as the first car he's owned that has never once made him think about it. He said that like it was the most romantic thing he'd ever said about a vehicle. His wife has stopped asking about the German SUV. Large, responsive screen. Seats wide enough for adults with foam density that holds at the 4-hour mark. Real rear legroom. Knees don't meet seat backs. Materials that look the same at 2 years as they did on delivery day. The price sits next to a mid-trim RAV4, not a luxury SUV. But the longer you own it, the better the math gets. Charging at home costs a fraction of gas. The hybrid drivetrain eliminates half the maintenance items on a conventional engine. The brakes last twice as long because regenerative braking does most of the work. It's a newer reliability record than a Camry's. Shuck, but it's going in the right direction. Fast. What to check before buying. Take a 30-minute test drive including highway and stop and go. The regenerative braking is genuinely different from anything you've driven. Lifting off the throttle slows the car hard in the strongest region mode. You need to experience this before you sign anything, not after. In cold weather, confirm battery preconditioning activates when you plug in overnight. If it doesn't, the software update was skipped. Check the charging port pins for corrosion. A damaged port means someone used a non-compatible charger. Replacement runs $800 to $1,200. Expect to pay $35,000 to $46,000 depending on specification and market. The plug-in hybrid is the version to buy for any owner who can charge at home. The fuel savings over 10 years pay for the premium with money left over. Quick maintenance tip. Every 6 months, run the car in pure gasoline mode for 30 minutes of highway driving. The Atkinson cycle engine runs cool and efficient, which means it rarely gets hot enough to burn off moisture that builds up in the oil. A hard highway run once in a while keeps the internals clean. This is the most honest case any vehicle can make for itself. 14 years of production experience. Battery chemistry verified by a German organization that has been protecting its reputation since the 19th century. A $0 unplanned repair record from a high-mileage driver who started as a skeptic and became a convert. In 2026, a Chinese SUV is making that case. The question is whether you're evaluating vehicles on data and are still protecting an assumption you formed 15 years ago because someone at a barbecue told you to. Derek still gets asked about the car. Colleagues, neighbors, the guy at the next pump who notices the badge and tilts his head. He used to explain. Now he just says, look up the TÜV results. Most people don't bother. A few do. Those are the ones who end up buying one. Gary's wife still thinks he's lost it. He just renewed his insurance. Cheapest renewal in 20 years. The guy at the barbecue is still talking. Are you team data or team badge? Drop it in the comments. I want to know where you started and whether this changed anything. Subscribe if you want more of this. And click the video on screen right now. I'll see you there.